make some interesting line changes in practice yesterday. We'll have the latest and how it affects players like Mathew Barzal. We also have a full preview of tonight's game against the Philadelphia Flyers and a lot more coming up on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. So glad you could join us today and be part of the Locked On Islanders family. And thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, and that does now include YouTube. So definitely check us out on there. We have got a lot to discuss on today's episode. The Islanders making some line changes in practice on Monday that are worth discussing, and we'll talk about how that's going to affect players like Mathew Barzal and changes to the top line. We'll also have a full preview of tonight's game at the UBS Arena against the Philadelphia Flyers, and we have a forward from the mid-90s as our Islanders' birthday of the day. We'll also talk a little bit more about Clark Gillies on today's show. If you've got something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a topic you'd like us to talk about, or a comment on something that we did say on the show, feel free to email us. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show. We'll talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. You could also follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnIsles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game, and that'll include tonight's game against the Flyers. So I'll provide instant insight and analysis, and always great to interact with fans during the game and really any time. So definitely check that out, and great to talk to people on Twitter during Islanders games and really anytime at all. The Islanders had some interesting moves in practice. This was kind of a little unexpected. Now, keep in mind, these combinations do not include Anthony. It was held out of practice as a maintenance was basically announced. But here is the lineup. You had a top line of Mathew Barzal, Bailey, Nell, Lee, and Zarnik were the second line. Paz and Wallstrom the third, and then you had the identity line together. Those were the four. First observation, Oliver had been in a little bit of a slump, and mentioned on the John. The impression I did was that there is no future Oliver Wallstrom. The thing about judging anytime soon tend to be a little less consistent for players, and Wallstrom is no different. 8 goals, 16 points in 31 games, but he's been cold lately offensively. We talked about that giveaway. Still leading the team right now, however. 85 shots on goal. To me, to have Oliver Wallstrom in the lineup more often than not. In fact, I would like him out there almost every game. But interesting trivia question, by the way. Who is second on the Islanders in shots on goal right now? Anybody? Bueller? Okay. Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson, second on the Islanders with 78 shots on goal, followed by Mathew Barzal and Anthony Beauvillier. So interesting to see that Dobson is second in shots. But anyway, Wahlstrom should be back out there. And now the other question becomes, on the second line, does he fill in on the first line where he, I don't mind having Bellows on a line with Barzal. I think there are advantages to it. You have the physicality and the size and his willingness to shoot the puck, which certainly would be something that would benefit Barzy. But I mean, isn't that really what Anders Lee does? So sort of and his passing with Nelson, it makes sense to put on whether to be Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, Wahlstrom, Bellows, whoever is. The gift for me is this: Mathew Barzal, top line center, unquestionably this player with the puck on the Islanders roster offensively. He needs a little bit more mobility. Now, Barzal on the same line for a few now, and I think they Barry last year, you had Uncle Leo of the year, different players have been in that lineup, third player on that line. But now, if you're going to have Bellows and Bailey, place of either wise, it's just to me, to maximize Mathew Barzal, you need a little bit more continuity as to who is on his wing. It used to be you had Islanders top line. It was Trotz, Gillies, and Bossy and Dynasty, the trio Grand, and they would stay together for longer periods of time. Now it's more duo, and that duo for the Islanders has been Barzal and Lee, and then you substitute in a third. There are exceptions. Gil Martin and Clutterbuck, certainly an exception. The B line for the Islanders of Bailey and Bailey, Nelson, and Beauvillier had an exception. But overall, to me, one thing that I want to see from Barry Trotz going forward is a little more for Mathew Barzal to maximize his offensive output, a little more consistent who he plays. Look, this team is struggling. They struggled for years now. And they don't need to score 5 or 6 goals most nights to win, but they do need at least certainly. Again, when Anthony comes back, where he fits in, and also, we still don't have Kyle. He'll be back for tomorrow's game against Philadelphia. Tonight's game against Philadelphia. We've got more to come on the Locked On Islanders podcast. We'll preview that game at the UBS Arena tonight against the Flyers. We've also got our Islanders birthday of the day and some more thoughts on Clark Gillies. All of that and more on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. It's a new year, and they've got a new updated desktop and mobile website. So sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On. That's one word, Locked On, to get started. And just for listening to the Locked On Islanders podcast, you will get that 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit when you use the promo code. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest way to wager on all your favorite sports, so check out BetOnline where the starts. Islanders set to take on the Flyers. Third meeting with the Flyers in days? Not bad, because the Flyers continue to struggle, and the Islanders are hoping to be able to take advantage of that fact. Philadelphia continuing ways to, they're playing, I'm recording this much right now after two periods, but that, Philadelphia trying hard right now to that losing streak. As of right now, depending on the outcome of that game, Islanders and Flyers both have 34 points, but the Islanders have 7 games in hand on the Flyers, and by the end of the game Monday night against Dallas, they will have 8 games in hand on the Flyers. Flyers really on both sides of the ice. They are 26th in the league in goals scored, 26th in the league in goals against. Their power play, 27th with only a 15.8% success rate. The penalty kill, 21st with a 77.6% rate. Carter, Martin, Jones tend to be the goaltending duo. And look, realistically, because they are playing attack right now, whoever's in goal for tonight, not people Hart, who is in goals. Martin, Jones, the likely start in this game tomorrow. And again, the Islanders beat them twice. There was on this here some dangerous players, points. Those are both high on. James Van Riemsdyk is the power play goal scoring specialist. He leads the team with 6. Claude Giroux has 11 points on the power play, and Keith Yandel from the point, very effective. A lot of familiar names. This is a team the Islanders have played an awful lot over the years. And look, in combinations from the Flyers in the Monday night game against Dallas, the top line, Claude Giroux, James Van and Cam Atkinson, Scott Lawton now, Sesker Lindblom, and Travis Konechny on either side of Morgan Frost is the third line pivot. Gerald Mayhew to his left, Maxwell Willman to his right, and then Jackson Cates centers the fourth line. Nick Seeler and Zach McEwen are his wingers. Ivan Provorov and Justin Braun are the top pair. Travis Sanheim and Rasmus Ristolainen are the second defense pairing, and then Cam York and Keith Yandel are third. On the power play, Giroux goes back to the point on both on the first power play unit, along with Provorov, with Atkinson, Van Riemsdyk, and Konechny up front, and then Morgan Frost, Zach McEwen, and Oscar Lindblom up front on the second unit with Yandel and York. Playing the point against Martin Jones, goalie, Daniel Morin, Ryan Ellis, Evan Hayes, all on IR, while Patrick Brown and Wade Allison are listed as out. So, and if we get any updates, we'll via Twitter. Islanders will have managed. They will have had 2 days while the Flyers are playing in back-to-back. It's not a long road trip, but the Flyers do have to come up from Philadelphia, and flight involved. So, it's just a little bus ride or car ride or train, whatever it is they're going to take, probably a bus to get from Philadelphia to the UBS Arena. But the big thing about the Flyers right now is just how long they've been won, and defense has really been their bigger issue. It's team defense, and the Islanders need to be able to take advantage. And look, right now, for the Philadelphia Flyers, they are pressing. They are doing all the things that the Islanders were doing going through that 08 and slump. And how is it right the 9th against the Seattle Kraken? Now, change tonight, depending on the outcome of that game against Dallas. But you have gone right now 4 weeks, roughly 4, without winning a hockey game, and that just makes it really difficult for fans. Their last few games: lost at Buffalo, against Columbus at home, lost 2 losses to the Islanders, a loss to the Rangers, a loss to the Bruins. The list goes on, but it seems like even struggling teams right now have been getting the best of the Philadelphia Flyers. And again, what the Islanders need to do, we knew that the game against Toronto was going to be a big challenge, but the Islanders need to come out and really play their style of hockey. And if they beat the Philadelphia Flyers, they can move possibly past Philadelphia and New Jersey in the standings and be 1 point behind Columbus, again, coming into the action with 5 games in hand on the Blue Jackets. So opportunity is there. We talked about the importance of these rest of the schedule between now and the All-Star break, all at home for the New York Islanders. You have got to beat teams like the Flyers when they're down, take advantage of them. And the Islanders have a chance to do just that. And you look ahead at the schedule right now: LA, Seattle, Minnesota, and Ottawa. Those are the remaining games after the Philadelphia game tonight. Hopefully, the Islanders will get that done. And out of those remaining 5 games left on the schedule, if the Islanders can go, let's say, 3-1-1 in those 5 or better, they'd be sitting pretty, not sitting pretty, but right back in the thick of a hunt to move up in the standings and get back into the playoffs. When we come back, we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day, a forward from the mid-90s. See if you can guess who it is. All that and a little more on Clark Gillies coming up on the Locked On Islanders podcast. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And we're going to wish a very happy 58th birthday, former Islanders center Bob Sweeney, the Boxborough, Massachusetts native. How Massachusetts is this guy, right? Bob Sweeney from Boxborough, Mass. Went to Boston College, spent 4 productive years there, including a 32-goal campaign in just 44 games. Drafted in the 6th round by the Boston Bruins back in 1982. Makes his NHL debut for the Bees in 86-87. Stays there until the 91-92 season. After that, he's off to Buffalo, then to the Islanders for the 95-96 season. Played 66 games for the Isles, 6 goals, 12 points, and 59 penalty minutes. Who then played for Calgary for the end of the 95-96 season, and then ended up being out his 1 year in the AHL, which was a minor league back in 7. Off to finish his career 97-98 all 2001. For his career, 639 games played for Bob Sweeney. He scored 105 goals, 280 points, 799, 103 playoff games. Pretty impressive numbers there. 15 goals and 33 points in those. Only a couple of seasons with more than 100 penalty minutes, but Sweeney, more of a defensive-oriented two-way center. He could put the puck in the 22 game a goal seasons from 21 goals for Buffalo. More of a two-way guy who would win fake kill penalties, be physical, and play that style of hockey. We're going to go back and look at what was on his most productive game as an Islander. Halloween night, 1995 at the Arena. The Islanders in their fisherman jerseys taking on the Florida Panthers. Tommy Sell New York Islanders, while Islander Mark Fitzpatrick out there to get the start for the Panthers. And it was the Islanders getting on the board first, just 4 minutes and 32 seconds into the game. Brian McCabe, his first of the year, unassisted, makes it 1-0 Islanders. But Mick Vukota off for roughing and Brian McCabe off for hooking. Islanders down 2 men, and Gord Murphy makes them pay his third from Johan Garpenlov at 8:39. That tied the game. Then Ziggy Palffy answers for the Islanders on their power play. Rhett Warner in the box for hooking, and Palffy gets his fourth from Travis Green and Matthew Schneider at 15:50. Islanders up 2-1 after one period. Panthers tie it in the second. Jeff Smith, his first from Bill Lindsay and Scott Mellenby at 4:29. But the Islanders' power play answers again. Tom Fitzgerald, an ex-Islander, in the box for tripping. You know why there were so many ex-Islanders, by the way, on this Panthers team? Who was the first GM? Who built the Florida Panthers in their early years? Bill Torrey, the Hall of Fame architect of the New York Islanders. So that's why you see a lot of familiar names on the Panthers roster. Anyway, so with that power play, Alexander Seamak his third, Kirk Muller and Scott LaChance with the assists at 7:11, and the Islanders have a 3-2 lead. Then our Islanders' birthday of the day, Bob Sweeney gets his first of the year. Marty McGinnis and Dan Plant with the assist at 18:33. Islanders up 4-2 after 2, and it looks like everything is easy, but the Panthers mount a third period comeback in this game and make things very interesting. Matthew Schneider off for cross-checking, and just 57 seconds into the third, Jason Woolley is sub Niedermeyer and Scott Mellenby with the assist. And then with 2 minutes and 1 second left, Woolley scores again, this time at even strength. Tom Fitzgerald and Brian Scrudland with the helpers, again, 17:59, the time of the tying goal. We go to overtime. But in the extra session, Bob Sweeney, our Islanders' birthday of the day, second of the game, second of the season. Kirk Muller, Dennis Vasky with the assists at 3:56 of overtime. Islanders end up winning this one by a score of 4. And a nice performance right there for Bob Sweeney. 2 goals on 2 shots on goal. He was a +1. Both his goals coming at even strength, and of course the over goal was the game winner. Tommy Salo only had to make 17 saves to get this win. This was the dead puck era at its worst, folks. Islanders outshot by the Panthers 21-19 in this game. John Van Beesbrook, another former Islander, by the way, replaced Mark Fitzpatrick late in the game and gave up the game-winning goal in overtime. So at the end of the day, the Islanders with a 5-4, and Sweeney with a 2-goal performance, including the game winner. It is our Islanders' birthday, and we wish him a very happy 58th day. So thoughts on Clark Gillies and his passing, and I guess about Gillies was that, you know, he was big and so tough and so talented on the ice. For me, a kid, he seemed it really will learn of his passing, but yet off the ice, and I met him a number of times, interviewed him a few times, spoke to him. Funny guy, generous in the community, and he really, really will be missed. And we'll have a bit more on Clark Gillies later on this week because still shocked by his passing at the age of 67. We will be back tomorrow. We will have our key takeaways from the Philadelphia Flyers. Very important that Islanders these 2 points as the All-Star Game homestand. Thank everyone once again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Now you can listen Locked On Bets to your daily one-stop shop for all gambling needs. Locked On Bets associated by your boy Q with analysis and insight from Lee. It's free and available on all platforms. Have a stay, and of course, go Islanders.